Chapter 9. Saturday marched in quietly and quickly. I prepared breakfast for myself and Crystal. We sat in silence, occasionally peeping at each other between sips of coffee. I didn't want to hear Crystal's problems because I felt they were nothing compared to what I had been experiencing. But everyone feels that their problems are worse than the next fellow's. I guess the adage is true, you have to walk a mile in someone's shoes. So I decided to let her get whatever was bothering her off her chest. We had been staring at our scrambled eggs and picking at them with a fork, not eating. When I glanced up, Crystal's eyes were pooling with tears. "What's wrong today?" I asked, less sympathetic than I should have been. "I don't know where Jonas is. I've been texting him. I've even considered going around to his business." "Oh no, don't do that." My voice rose quickly without a measure of control. "But why?" "Just calm down. He likes you." "He said he loved me," she said in a soft, childlike voice. Men always tell women they love them when they are horny and want to fuck. And they want to fuck all the time. "Did Max tell you the same thing?" My brow knitted, and my eyes closed for a minute, tightening at the thought of what Max had said to me through the course of our relationship. I quickly hit the ball into Crystal's court. "This is not about me, Crystal. Give him time. He's probably working for Max and couldn't call." I changed the subject immediately. "Hey, what about Joshua?" I asked, sounding positive and upbeat. "I hear from him every day," Crystal said, sounding none too interested in discussing Josh. "And you're not satisfied that he thinks enough of you to call every day. You want the bad boy, the one that can never be around when you really need him." "It's the same with you, Alex." Crystal returned my serve. "St. John adores you and you want Max. Look, Max and Jonas are twins. Do you think Max will be any different than Jonas? He took your son as he was telling you that he loved you." I stared at the pattern on the wall. I didn't know Crystal could be so deep. Before I could defend Max, my phone rang. "Alex, this is Blake." "I thought that I would never hear from you," I said, welcoming his call. "You had my number. Why haven't you called?" "I've had a few bad days, and I didn't want to burden you with my problems," I said, looking to replace Joshua as my friend and confidant. "Can I meet you for lunch? I promise that you will not be disturbed by Blackstone. I have something important to tell you concerning the murder case of that heiress. I wanted to talk to you before the papers publish tomorrow." Yes, what time?" I was eager to learn about the newest developments in the case, and because Blake was willing to tell me something that wasn't common knowledge yet. He had been very tight-lipped on details. Maybe he thought that I would tell Max. I probably would have done that just to protect Max. "I'll pick you up at 1 o'clock. There's a rustic bar near the waterfront where cops hang out. They have great hamburgers and beer." Blake drove up in a new Dodge truck. I waited outside, and I climbed in, and he shut the door and entered. Hitting a button, he drove off. I smelled the newness of the truck, and it reminded me of the new Mercedes Max had given me. I had returned it because of my pride. Blake's radio was tuned into a country and western station, where a song was playing on the radio. I heard a lyric, "If you believe that I don't love you, then I can sell you a river in Arizona." My eyes swung around to Blake, but he kept his eyes on the road. "Nice day, isn't it?" he said with a smile. We made small talk about the weather, and exchanged observations on how we looked to each other. Whenever conversations start with the weather and end with the weather, something is wrong. Are you going to tell me what was so important that you had to ask me to lunch? I wanted to see you. I miss you and I like you. Blake placed his hand over mine as he drove. The electricity once reserved for Max seemed to register in my body. Not the overwhelming jolt I received whenever Max was near, but a calm energy that made me feel invigorated and full of life. Max had managed to sap the life out of me with his demands and his unyielding stance on Maxim. I explained to you that I stopped myself because I had forgotten there was no longer a Max and I to control how I felt. Now I needed stability and peace. Max had threatened to get full control of Maxim. I was disappointed and angry because Max had not touched me in months. I know about Mr. Blackstone, Alex. You explained about your loyalties and that you can't consider dating me because of him. It's not that anymore. Before I could continue the conversation, we arrived. It was an old, well-kept Irish bar with sawdust on the floors, which served drinks and food to the neighborhood men and women working on the docks. We're here. We walked into a deserted bar, with maybe 3 people seated at the long, weathered bar, decorated with cigarette burns and bowls of peanuts and chips. Taking a booth in the back was my idea. I needed to talk to Blake without too much interference. Blake nodded his head as we passed. The bartender knew him. Maybe Blake confided in him during his darkest moments. I wished I had someone to ease my burden. Before we sat, Blake stood at the bar and ordered 2 Heineken beers and 2 cheeseburgers, everything on it. He glanced at me for affirmation. I nodded. The bartender brought over 2 Heinekens. How did you know? It's my job to know about people. Especially friends. I asked you out to give you an update on the case involving that San Francisco heiress. Her family pushed the case, and tomorrow they are going to make an arrest. Because my partner is still on the case, he gave me this information, but he would not disclose who they were going to arrest. There are 3 people involved in this case. I held my breath. My eyes darted around out of nervousness. I strummed the table. Blake's eyes followed my movements. I didn't want to hear the names. Even though I had vowed to never talk to Max, I loved him dearly, and I would do anything for it not to be him. I grabbed Blake's arm in anticipation of the names. Jonas's name was not on the radar until I discovered that Max had a twin brother, Blake stated, looking in my eyes and searching for something. Their DNA is the same, so we had to add him to the list. As you well know, Max is at the top of the list, but now we have a new twist. Jessica Beaumont is one of the suspects. But how? We think Jessica may have helped Maximilian cover up the crime, or she framed him, but we can't prove it now. Jonas had been dating the heiress under Max's name. That's why the report in the papers cited Max as her fiancé. So, Max was not lying about not having anything to do with the heiress. It appears to be the case. But until we narrow it down to one of 2 people, his name will still be linked to the dead girl. The barkeeper brought over the cheeseburgers. I stared at it but couldn't eat. I knew that I would be hungry soon after I got over the shock of hearing about Max. I had no doubt that she-devil Jessica Beaumont had something to do with the heiress's death by the warning she had given me about Max. But that wouldn't hold up in court. It would be my word against hers. I had a visitor yesterday. Jessica came to my job and threatened me. She did what? Be careful because she is our #1 suspect. I'm going to make sure no harm comes to you. I will stake out your house and job if it's okay with you." Yeah. Sure. I would have agreed to anything to discover the truth about Max and bring an end to this and get on with my life. Blake took me home, and later that night I peered through the window and saw his truck parked across the street in the dark. I felt safe. My thoughts strayed. Where is Max when I need him? My phone rang. "Hello, Charles. Sunday would be a great time to teach you how to ride. Can I send a car for you tomorrow morning?" My mind drifted to Blake. I figured that he would have to go home sometime, and then I would visit Charles. Deep down, I felt as if I was cheating on Max and Blake with Charles, but in reality it was only Max. "Sunday would be fine, but you have to promise me that you won't keep me past 2 o'clock. I have to take care of some things before work on Monday." "I promise." Sunday rolled around, and there were no calls from Max. I became concerned and tried to keep myself from calling him. I wanted to enjoy my time with Charles without thinking about anything or anyone. However, the thought of him, or maybe Jonas, being arrested was devastating. I knew Max could escape whatever happened to him because of his lawyers, but Jonas was different. He had been on drugs, and he was into all manner of sexual deviancy. I had completely forgotten about Crystal. I hadn't seen her in a few days. I thought she was with Jonas. Looking outside for Blake's truck, I noticed that it was not in the usual spot. And prompt as usual was Charles's limo, pulling up to my house at 7:30 on the dot. I hurried into the car and picked up the local newspaper, even though the New York Times and the Washington Post lay nearby. On the front page, in bold headlines that sucked the air from my lungs, was a picture of Max. I looked further and it said, "Jonas Blackstone arrested in Seattle for the salacious necktie murder of San Francisco's real estate heiress." My phone began ringing. First it was Crystal. I didn't know what to tell her. Then it was Max. I had to take his call. "Alex, baby." He sounded as if he was dying. His voice was hoarse and weak. After all, he had been through a lot in a few days. I could hear defeat in that voice. He loved his brother. "I know. It's you. I'm sorry, Max. What can I do? I need you. I need to see you. I'm in San Francisco trying to arrange bail for Jonas. I don't think it will happen. The police have too much on him, and he confessed." "Why would he confess?" "He thought it was me. He wanted to help me out. I didn't do it, and Jonas didn't murder that girl." "I don't understand. Who could have done such a thing?" "Any number of people. Please let me come to you. I don't want to be alone." "Max, I'll meet you at your hotel. I need some privacy away from Crystal. She is frantic now. I can't face her." "I'll be there about 9 tonight. I'll call ahead and send a car for you at 7. I'll tell them to expect my wife. That will get you into my penthouse without any problems." I had to tell the driver to turn around and take me home. I called Charles and gave an excuse, a small lie I could live with. The truth would have been too painful. Max's car arrived at 7. I was happy to get away from all the crazy stuff going on with Jonas, and now with Crystal and Josh. I arrived at Max's hotel. The driver helped me out of the car and whispered to the doorman, and he greeted me with a wide smile, escorting me into the lobby. I had never been to this hotel. It had his brand on it, with its ultramodern stainless steel and glass furniture, and light fixtures out of a science fiction movie. I took a deep breath. I had to see Max to give him a feeling of comfort and to reassure him that he was not alone. I knew how he felt from being all alone and living where I could, after running away from home. I had no family to confide in and to give me peace of mind. I wanted to let Max know that I was his family. I reached his penthouse and walked into the large room. It resembled most of his hotel suites, with large foyers leading to the living area, and then several bedrooms and baths, but this one had a full-service kitchen. There were killer views from the panoramic windows. This view overlooked the Needle and the harbor. I sat on the large sofa, taking in the view. I could get used to this, I thought. Was I doing the very thing I had accused Josh of doing? Selling out? Since I'd fallen into Max's world, I hadn't been able to escape, so the best thing I could do was to embrace it. When in Rome, as they say. Throwing my shoes to the side, I padded into the rest of the penthouse, looking around. I found the kitchen and opened the fridge, nothing but water and champagne. I decided to embrace the luxuries surrounding me. Tired of cooking a fast meal to save money, I was ready for room service. I ordered lobster for 2, caviar just to try it, and an assortment of desserts, and why not open a bottle of champagne Max had in the wine fridge. When I had completed ordering the obscenely high-priced meal that I would not have to pay for, I heard the elevator door open. My heart fluttered, and in walked my Mr. Black with a bag of groceries in one hand, and with the other he held on to a black satchel. He then threw it to the floor. I ordered supper. But I was going to cook for you. He looked like a child that had been disappointed after careful choosing an imitation pearl necklace for his mother, and then finding out that she already had one, and that one was real. Max, I can't believe you would do this for me. You look tired. I am, but I would do anything for you. My thoughts trailed, and I thought that this was not the time to bring up Maxim. He walked to the kitchen and deposited the bag on the counter. Then he returned with a smile of relief. Okay. His eyes brightened, and he took off his coat and threw it on the chair near the couch. He wore a gray suit, which was a surprising change. Standing in the same spot, he pulled the tie from his white shirt and let it drop. Then he smiled and opened his shirt. With his finger pointing in my direction, he mouthed, "Come here." I looked around and then I said, "Who, me?" He nodded and said, "Yes, you." I walked slowly until I reached him. His hungry mouth found mine, and our tongues embraced in a wild flurry of passion. The grunts and moans were something you would hear on Animal Planet. We were engaging in heated foreplay. Max shoved his tongue in and out as if it was an extension of his penis, and my mouth was my vagina. I sucked his tongue firm as I would his hard, aroused penis. Saliva escaped from the side of our mouths, like his semen draining from a quick orgasm. His kisses clouded my memory. I forgot what tore me from him. I forgot what made me leave him. I forgot why I had come to be with him at this moment. All I wanted was to be as in his arms. To be taken and plunged into an orgy of vile, unending sex, with the pain and satisfaction that came from being well fucked. I pulled his jacket off and then unbuckled his belt. Looking at me in surprise, Max unzipped his pants and said, "Go to your knees." Before I had time to think about anything or anyone, Max had his hard, erect penis in one hand, holding it to my face, and with the other he slid his thumb around my lips, circling the ridges of my mouth as he had done on my anus. He placed his penis in my mouth, and my dream of him standing over me with his hard dick rammed in my mouth had come true. I glanced at him. His eyes were closed, and he mumbled, "Oh Alex, you don't know how long I have wanted this from you." He pushed and pulled, and held a handful of my hair in his fist, as he directed my head to the movement of his body. "Alex, I'm coming. Don't let me come now. It's too soon. You are making me too weak for you." "Not weak enough. But just you wait, and you won't deny me anything," I thought. Just as he requested, I pulled away from sucking him hard, and slowly and gradually I took my mouth away from his hard, wonderful penis until his body calmed, and drips of cum subsided, and he had control once more. "This is my present to you. Allowing you to think you have control, my horny, beautiful fuck." Standing and locking eyes with Max, I walked backward and sat down on the sofa. Then, as Max looked at me, I took off my blouse and bra. I held my nipples between my fingers, teasing him. Then I eased out of my skirt and pantyhose. I sat naked and opened my legs, fingering my bud. "Now it's your turn. I want you on your knees, and I want you to eat me for as long as I command you to." Max's eyes glistened. "It's not how long I can eat you, but how long you can take me eating that beautiful cunt of yours." I was more than ready. The night held infinite possibilities, and I wanted to explore all of them before dawn. He crouched between my legs, and his tongue glided over his top lip. He pushed his head into my opening and pulled me forward, placing my legs on his shoulders. Planting his head between my legs and surveying my bud with his tongue gave him extreme pleasure. I could hear the sound of his quick heartbeat, and he had the look of a man who had found what he wanted in life. Lifting his head, he locked eyes with me. "I could spend my nights and days eating your pussy. When are you going to commit to me?" He didn't wait for an answer. He went back to the thing he liked best, bringing me joy and satisfying his slavish, erotic desire for oral sex. "Max, I am having an orgasm. I'm not like you, I have to do it now. Please, sweetheart, wait for me. My dick needs you. I need to look in your face when you come. I don't know when I will see you again." So he's like a hibernating bear, stocking up for winter.